This video is going to show you how to import data into a table that we can see here in Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. So this table was created earlier through ASP.NET MVC project using Entity Framework. So we had a model here with a film in it with various fields such as film certificate, film title, film description. So that's already been migrated through Entity Framework, so I can see the table here. I can right click and I can go to the design. You can see the design of the table. If I right click and I go to edit top 200, you can see that there is no data in there at the moment. So what I want to do is populate some data. Do that manually. It's going to be pretty tedious, so we're going to do it by loading in a big load of data in one go. Now that data was created in Excel that looks like this, so it's designed to match that table structure with name of the film, certificate, film description, price, star rating and the release date of the film, and also the name of an image file. And what I've done is I've exported that from Excel in what's known as a CSV format. That's a delimited format. That means it uses a character to delimit the columns, which is this one here. So you can see that we've got commas delimiting the fields, and there's quotes around that big text field. Right, so that file is all set up, ready to go. My database is sitting there empty, ready to receive some data. So let's show you how the wizard will do this. So first of all, go to the table level in SQL Server Management Studio. So the database level where your table sits, go to tasks and find import data. There's a wizard to take us through here. So we'll click on next. And our original data source is going to be a flat file. That's this file here. So we need to browse to find it. It's a CSV file, so we'll tell it's a CSV file. There's the file there. We'll open that up. So in terms of the text qualifier, we saw it was using quotes around the big text field there, so we need to indicate that. If we go to columns here, we can see it's guessed that the columns would be comma separated, so those have nicely been distributed, which is good. Under advanced, we could also look at the data types it would relate to those. I just noticed here that is showing some data, whereas what it should be doing there is ignoring that first column, so do remember to untick that. So with that unticked, I should now have to go to columns. That's looking good. We've got column 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 along the top. Go to advanced, we've just got these default names here. Now by clicking on suggested types, it's going to suggest what data types to associate with the different bits of data here. So it will cleverly go through there. You could have it look at, say, I've only got 60 records. It would look at 200 here for me and work out which one the best data type would be. If you expected big string text coming in, you could pad the columns, but I'm going to click OK. So you see it's identified that as my primary key. On the left hand side there is a int. Column 7 is the date. Column 1 we've got the string, and there's another int there for the star rating of the film. So they look like good suggestions. We can preview that as well, so we can see that the data is looking good. We go down to the bottom, we see that's looking nicely structured. So click next. Now I need to decide where it's going to go. So from the destination, we pick SQL Server Native Client. That's our local DB, MS SQL Local DB, the one that we're using for the MVC project. And then make sure you pick up the correct database. So that's My Films DB. We click next. Now that would create a brand new table for me inside of here, but I want to populate this already existing films. So I'll just delete what I've got in there and add in films. Okay, and then if we click on edit mappings, it will go and look at, that's the source columns, That's the destination columns, and then these are the data types it's going to use and whether they're null or not. So that all looks good. The other thing I need to do in here is just tick this. That will just make sure that the primary key column gets entered incorrectly. It's going to enable entity insert as it's known. So click OK, and then we can click next. It'll give us a summary. So the summary looks good. If anything's looking yellow or red here, you need to make sure that you get the data types matched as best you can between the source and the destination. But that looks pretty good. So we'll click next, and then we're going to run this immediately. So we'll click next and then finish. And then fingers crossed it goes through. We've got lots of lovely green ticks there. It's telling us we've got 60 rows transferred. Great, so let's close that. Now, data doesn't appear there yet. And if I refresh down here, it often still doesn't appear. And if I refresh up here, it still doesn't appear. And if I right click and say edit the top 200 rows, it still doesn't appear. Bear with me. Let's jump back to the project and let's fire up the MVC app, which has already got some pages in that are querying the database. So localhost fires up, and we go to movie list page, and we should hopefully see the data. There's the data. Okay, so we could click on one of these, and we need to fix the pages, but we can see that the data is coming in fine. Now we could view the data up here as well. There's our local database. There's our table in this instance. See, I've got some other ones in there. There's our films. We could right click and we could view data, and you could edit the data through there. Hopefully by now our friend SQL Server Manager has caught up. So let's refresh in here. Still hasn't caught up. Let's try refreshing the database level. We'll close these down. Let's have another go. So refresh. So we know the data's there, we have seen it. So let's go to tables. There's our table. Edit top 200, and there we go. It took a while to catch up with us, but there is all the data. Okay, so do have a go at the wizard for importing your data rather than adding them in line by line. It can be a little bit fiddly. You've got to make sure the data types are all set up and the data that you're importing matches that of the structure of your table. The other option that you could use is you could just import, if you wanted to, you could import that file and have it generate a new table for you, and then you could just simply change the table column names to match. Okay, let's show you that technique quickly. So I'll right click up here. Again, I'll go to tasks and I'll pick up import data. Let's click next. And then we'll pick our same flat file. So we browse to find that file again. So this time what I'm doing here is just going to use the file just to generate a brand new table. So there's my data. So I'm going to bring it in. We saw it was using quotes. We wanted to ignore the first row. And if we go to columns now, there's all our data. That looks good. Let's go to advanced and go to suggested. So really important you run this time. Let's pad that out a little bit. Put 10% of padding on string fields. Click OK. And then we'll click next. And then we'll point it at the same database. But we're going to have it create a new table for us over here in a minute. So we'll click next. That's what it wanted to do last time that we edited it. So it's going to create this table name here. So we'll click. We'll go to. We don't need to edit the mappings this time because this is creating it from fresh. So we'll click next. So we've hopefully got a lot of green ticks there, which we have. We'll click next, and then next, and then finish, and away it goes. Lots of green ticks. Let's close that, and you can, if I refresh over here, we should hopefully now see that we have a second table, original data, and let's view the data on that. So edit top 200, there you go. So there's that data brought in. See, it's just brought in the default names, but you could have used the first row to name those. That's easy enough. You could go to design, you could rename them all in there. You could set that as the primary key, and you'd find yourself in the same situation as that first technique. Okay, thank you very much.